Episode 25. 25. We are a quarter of a centennial of.
That was what was going through my mind. Is like, what is the abbreviate? I know there's a special word for like 25th something. You got it.
Did you watch the Olympics?
I didn't watch the Olympics as much as I watched other people talk about the Olympics. I think that's what it's come down to. Yeah, I streamed a bit of it. But yeah, I actually haven't watched a lot of it. Most of it is just what people have been talking about it. It's kind of strange, but it's like I don't have time to sit there and watch. I mean, it's exciting and stuff, but I'm just not. I don't know. I feel like I do feel like I'm missing out though. But people will tell me what's interesting.
My daughter is old enough now to where we want to watch the Olympics more with her because we're kind of limited screen time. That's how we did our daughter. And
Yeah.
But she's 9 now, and she takes gymnastics. She also is into swimming. She also does taekwondo. So made sure that I had YouTube TV recording all those events, and so we've been spending time just watching the Olympics. But women's gymnastics was good. So Simone Biles, Sunny Lee, they did the all around and got gold and bronze, and then Team USA women's gymnastics got the gold.
Yep.
Congratulations to them. And and the men's gymnastics got the bronze, and it was their first men's gymnastics first medal in I think over 16 years.
Yeah, been a while.
Yeah. Watched swimming. That's been interesting. I watched beach volleyball. I watched the triathlons and the whole the whole anxious, anticipated swim in the Seine River.
Mhm.
Did you hear about that drama?
I caught a couple of that. I was like, man, I still can't believe they're forcing those Olympians to swim in that river.
I know they're like testing it up to it's like an hour before they swim. The levels are not acceptable, and then an hour later they're acceptable.
And yeah, it's so gross.
Some French
can't
person was like, "Oh, I think they're good. Let's do it."
And it depends on how they measure it too. There's like some dude, he was like, yeah, sometimes they only do it at the surface of the water, but you got to really go deep, like where the swimmers are actually going to be in contact with that type of water. And I was like, okay, that's not good.
Yeah. What else did you see? You posted some, or you added some things here around some interesting.
Yeah. So again, I've been living the Olympic experience through other people, and I think what was some of the things that were trending on I guess social media for me this week was the main ones was air rifle, which a lot of people haven't paid attention to in the past, but apparently it just like there's a lot of memes coming up, especially around two key. Let's see, on the women's side, the Korean team, Kim Ye-ji, I think that's how you pronounce it. Just like other women were fawning over her because she's like so cool. Like if you look at some of the clips on X and on TikTok, you just like she's got all this eyewear. She looks very steampunkish. Her outfits, and she's got this vibe where she's just like, whatever, like I can do this. And so it's just fun. People like putting her like, oh, she needs her own movie. Like there's a story behind her and stuff. But she's actually very down to earth. She has like this young child too, because she was wearing a doll of what was the doll? It's like
an elephant.
Yeah, she had this doll on her hip when they were planning out shooting her. People were like, what's going on? Why does she have the elephant? And then very opposite was this guy from Turkey who had nothing. It was just him, his glasses, and he was just like, and he got a medal. And
yeah, he got silver.
Was the awesome thing. Yeah, silver. And then interviews for him. It was like, okay, he's an actual, like he's like a secret hitman or something like that.
Yeah, I saw those memes.
Or he's like, yeah, like John Wick. John Wick doesn't need any of this stuff, right? It's just, it was done.
Just get the silver so we don't give ourselves away.
What's his name? DK Yusuf from Turkey. But yeah, no. So like these two, apparently they brought air rifling to the forefront, which is kind of funny because it's considered an off sport if you think about it, right? It's like
Yeah.
swimming, track and field, gymnastics are kind of what soccer, basketball is what people anchor on. But yeah, so this was
Yeah, I
like
have
heavily talked about across social media. So I just thought it was kind of like a fun thing, and it'll provide some interesting, fun clips for you to show.
I have seen some of those images from the air rifle contestants and just what they wear, and yeah, it's been great.
Oh,
I didn't realize it had come so far. Maybe it's just made a leap in the last 4 years. The other one was the archery, like the
mhm.
bows that these athletes use. They're just so
Oh, yeah,
technologically advanced.
yeah,
I think for me, my thought when I see both of those, air rifle and archery, and the technology that they're using, I don't know. My initial gut reaction is like, at what point is it, do you stop?
yeah,
It's just like,
yeah,
you're it's not very traditional anymore, which,
yeah,
there's something to say about that. And then at that point, it's like F1, right? It just depends
yeah.
on the internals and the gadgets and everything that you can afford and put into your equipment to make it go faster. Yeah, but it's cool. It's cool seeing and watching.
Yeah. And that's why the Turkish athlete was so cool.
Yeah,
It's just my glasses and
yeah,
he's like,
he's hilarious, and he has his like hand in his pocket when he's shooting and all that stuff.
yeah, yeah. But anyways, so that was the Olympics this week.
Yeah, it's been a fun Olympics. Next this week, track and field gets
Mm-hmm.
gearing into shape, and so I was watching some of that last night, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be a good one. On the contrary, what has not been good is the stock market. For anyone who's invested in the market, last week was pretty painful, I
Yeah.
will say.
Crazy.
Yeah. And most of it was due to earnings, but also due to some of the news that has been coming out over the weekends. And so the reason why the market started off bad on Monday was because of the potential, war and conflict news going on in Israel and Iran. And so that's a looming, I guess, conflict that's causing uncertainty. And then also there's the whole change up of Trump versus Kamala, and how Kamala is kind of gaining a bit momentum. And so now the markets need to price into that, right? Like, what does that mean? What are their bets? And then the jobs report on Friday, which showed a weaker labor market, has been signaling some fears of, a recession again, right? Like,
Yeah.
the market's not as strong as you want it to be. And that's because of the high interest rates, and earnings is showing that consumer spending is slowing down. So that's a signal of weaker economic growth. There's a lot of FUD this month.
Yeah, there was a lot to digest this week, right? So like the other half of that Magnificent Seven, or most of the Magnificent reported, at least the key ones, right? What was it? Amazon, Apple, Meta were the big ones, and then yeah, to what you were speaking to, I think Amazon kind of set off that fear, right? They were like, yeah, cloud services doing okay, spending a lot of money on CapEx, and consumer spending was weak. And it was interesting how they framed it, right? They were like, shoppers are looking at, even though they had all time like Prime Day, like knocked it out of the park, but their consumers were focused on more brand, like more value items versus like your high ticket, like electronics, computers, etc., and more like down spending, right, and cutting back. Which it's like I agree. Like I that's how kind of like I operate now. It's like I don't splurge as much as I used to. And I'm very conscious of like like off brand, right? I'm okay. I'm gonna have to deal with off brand for now, right? But yeah, so some concerning news out of Amazon, and
Yeah.
of course
I think that makes
Apple
sense.
is opposite.
Uh, I, I think that makes sense though, from like what you're saying around Amazon, because if you think about like unemployment, there's a big wave of layoffs in January and February.
Yeah.
Typically, people get, 3 to 6 months of severance, or if they don't get
Yeah.
severance, they get 6 months of unemployment,
Yeah.
and that is now ending here in August, and so
That's right.
going to
Yeah.
trigger people to think more consciously about their spending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, Apple was the opposite of, they beat most of their estimates. And I think they actually bought themselves some time.
They bought
Because
themselves
people are
what?
still, they bought themselves some time because, right, the expectation is still, okay, they've already said their AI stuff won't really kick off until their next iPhone cycle, which is the 16, because there were some numbers. It's like only 15-ish million people actually have an AI enabled iPhone at this point in time. Right. And so there's this idea that in the next iPhone 16, that's when people will have to upgrade if it becomes compelling enough. Right. So Apple's kind of like, yeah, we'll see. We're not sure yet, but we'll see. We're hopeful. And so, that's the only thing that kind of held up through this week.
Tweet from Marquise saying, I forget what he said, something like, "It's crazy to think that tens of millions, or maybe even hundred. I don't know what Apple's total global share right now is, but millions and millions of people will not have an AI enabled phone because
It's like billions, right? So 15 million ish people have the iPhone 15, and then the other billion and a half iPhone devices don't.
yeah.
So I think that's what people are angry on.
And then of that,
Whether it
1.5,
accelerates,
yeah, well, of that 1.5 billion, it's gonna be a low
uh,
upgrade
yeah,
percentage.
yeah,
Just have around, and then yeah.
yeah. So we'll see. They bought some time. Maybe I'll buy put leaps this
Well,
time instead of weekly.
isn't
Not
that
financial advice.
what you did last
Yeah,
week?
trust me. Yeah, yeah. No, don't take my financial. Yeah, so my puts didn't work out. Oh well.
Okay. Meta also reported, and they popped about 9% on solid earnings. And
Yeah, made it looking good.
the main news from Zuck and team is that they're going to be investing heavily into expanding in AI, and so that's going to be a line item that's a cost for them. And then some of the big news around the whole chip market was Intel. So Intel reported pretty horrible earnings. They announced a layoff of about 15,000 people. Ultimately, what Intel did was just let the market know that they're not doing well. They need to get their, butts in line. They want to play in this AI chip space, but also just be relevant as a company. And they declined 26% after earnings reports.
Yeah, it's what was the number? It's like they're back to where they were, like in the not even 2000, like before 2000, like in the 90s is where their stock price is at this point, which is
Yeah.
insane. And it's just like Intel was the thing back then, right? But it's just like that doesn't have the foresight, or I guess they're just like behind. They're
Yeah.
so behind, and they still can't. And they know they're behind, and they've spent like the past 10 years not doing anything about it for the most part, right? So anyways,
Remember, we
yeah.
talked about Intel in one episode, and from a company perspective, like it make like, and this has been one of the narratives of how to make Intel relevant is to manufacture more GPUs, right? They manufacture CPUs, but they don't manufacture GPUs.
Yep.
And I don't know. I know you were pretty, what's the word? I forget what you said, but I think you said that like Intel can't do that, or it doesn't make sense for Intel to do that, which we're seeing now. Yeah. I guess you're right in that. Whereas like they're
Yeah.
not the right company to actually get there, but if they can, then that could be a turnaround moment.
Yeah. I was partially watching their CEO trying to explain their strategy. It was like, dude, it's like you just rambling. It's like, yeah, we've done this analysis, and we've finally gone through and decided, we're taking these two paths. And what you said last time was like, oh, Intel should be producing, but they're like, it seems like their strategy is going fabless now. At least part of their strategy is to go fabless. I'm like, that makes no sense, because whatever your strength was, it was around having your own fabs. So why aren't you leveraging that? But it now looks like we're going to go fabless, the AMD, everybody else route. I was like, why would you do that? Because your fabs are your moat. And so why aren't you like doing something around that? Right. And it's like two-pronged, but it seems like they're focused on that they will still have some fabs or co-share fabs, and then the rest is like fabless approach. And like, again, it's like, it doesn't seem like the path forward is that good either. Cause I'm like, that was part of your competitive edge, is you actually had fabs. You're not relying on like TSM to produce your chips. Otherwise you're going to be competing with everybody else, right? When you've already, I don't know. It's just like, it's a mess.
Intel
Cut
C.
dividend. The thing that also made it show, it's like their dividends, they cut that. And
Oh.
it's like, wow, it's like abandoned ship, everybody.
Intel CEO has been CEO since 1979. So it's been a while.
Got to be like Boeing, man. You got to jettison, get somebody like Lisa Su or
Yeah.
I can't say Jensen because he's a one of a kind, but
Well, actually, so there's Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger. He was CEO from 2009. Then he went to work as VMware's CEO from 2012 to 2021. Then as Intel CEO in 2021. So it's really been 3 years since he's been at the helm now.
Yeah.
But he is, he's old. I don't know why I just did that.
Don't be ageist.
I know. Jensen is just as old.
My first question, is he an engineer? I'm assuming if he was at Intel for so long, he's got to have some engineering background.
He went to Lincoln Tech. I don't know what he studied there, but
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe he's just not like when you apply jobs, maybe he's not top tier engineering.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what he doesn't have the vision.
No, I agree with you. They need an engineering leader, focused CEO at the helm, because Jensen is an engineering focused or engineering.
Oh, yeah. It's Lisa.
Yeah.
Sue Bay. I guess everybody on Reddit calls her Sue Bay, so let's call her Sue.
Yeah. Well, we shall see what happens with Intel in the next year. One thing to close this off, though, is did hear the Intel. I heard the Intel, not about Intel, but it was Intel, that Nancy Pelosi doubled down on her NVIDIA stock. So she and many others are still betting heavy on NVIDIA ruling the chip kingdom in terms of stock returns.
Yeah. There was like 10,000 shares of NVIDIA, sold 10,000 shares of Microsoft. So Microsoft is out.
NVIDIA's in.
And NVIDIA is still in.
The second thing to close with, related to Apple, that actually is breaking news. I always like when news outlets use breaking news. But it is breaking news because it just came out this morning when we woke up. Berkshire Hathaway cut half their stake of Apple last week, or I think in the last quarter. We know that Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett, they have been selling a lot of their stocks in the last year. And I think we talked about in the previous episode why that is. It could be changing of the guard. It could be, fears or off risking their portfolio. They still have a lot of money in the stock market, but they also have what's said to be their biggest cash stockpile that they've ever had. So they got rid of half their stake in Apple. I'm not sure. Who knows why?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it half? Let's see. Okay. Initially slashed Apple stake by 13% in the first quarter. And then you're saying they slashed more
in the second quarter.
Got it. Okay. Wow, $280 billion stockpile. That's a lot of cash. Okay. We'll
But
see.
their total portfolio is like that's like 10% of their total portfolio.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so maybe I shouldn't all in into my portfolio yet. Keep a large portion of it in cash for now.
My strategy right now, and this is not financial advice, but I've had a big cash pile in high yield savings,
Mm-hmm. Same.
and I've been DCAing into the market for my kind of safe account, and I have this other account where I do more like conviction stocks. But I'm increasing my DCA level. So, for example, if my DCA has been like $100 for the last, year,
Mm-hmm.
now I'm just like increasing that to like $500 every week, for example. So,
Okay.
being more aggressive with moving my cash over to
Yeah.
stock market, since within a year or two, once they reduce rates, I think, things will start to pop again. Yeah, that's my
Buying that tried and true method for the past while now. So
yeah, yeah. But I did inject a big amount, or bigger, not big. I did inject a bigger amount last week on Friday
Mhm.
when during that bloodbath. I was like, let's
No.
let's accumulate all these, good stocks, even though it's probably gonna go down more
Yeah.
leading
Well,
up to
yeah,
the
we'll see.
elections.
Yeah, we'll see. War, potential Middle East ish problems. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
So much going on in the world right now. Kind of crazy.
No one talks about the Russia-Ukraine conflict. I don't even know what's going on with it anymore.
I know. Well, I mean, it's been like what, 2 years now?
Yeah.
Like I said, yeah. Ukraine, Israel, Middle East. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You wanna talk about the next one that's AI related?
Yeah. No. Going back to AI, more AI. I don't even know what to call it. It's not even an AI assistant anymore at this point. It's like AI emotional. What is it? What do they call it? Pets, emotional support AI. And so this week, a new product was launched called Friend. And to be specific, apparently there's a couple of other products that are also called Friend, but friend.com. And basically it is a pendant that you wear, and it's like serves as your kind of like emotional AI support companion. It's very surreal. I think people are comparing it. It's very Black Mirror-esque. And so they launched this commercial where it kind of shows people, they're kind of like talking to themselves, and you think they're talking to they're just talking to an actual friend on the phone or something, but you see them, they have this pendant that they just kind of click, and they'll get a text message that kind of like responds to what they had just said. And it's very surreal watching. At first I was like, what is this? And but then then I had to go look it up again. Okay, got it. So yeah, so it's a pendant. You talk, it'll listen, and then it'll basically respond to you by sending you a text. Again, pretending that you are having a conversation with an actual friend. It's interesting that they took that route to where you engage with it through your phone, a text. But it's very, very weird.
Well, I
At
guess
least it's not like $500. It's like $100. So I don't know.
that might be a price point where I want to try it.
So,
So it's like
um,
basically the 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 play that they're making is kind of privacy, right? Like,
mhm,
and you have this pendant, and you're telling it your deepest, internal feelings and emotions and secrets,
yeah, yeah,
so that you can have like on the go therapy, for example, if you're dealing with, internal issues or whatever.
yeah. So
I guess that's one use case. Does it also like do grocery lists?
yeah, I don't know. It was it was more it was more focused on that. So I mean, I think you could, right? It's just that it's not very clear like what it's using to power it. And we talked this up that I've mentioned it before, but like character AI does something very similar where they have all these different personas that you can interact with. One of their most popular ones is the psychologist character. And so it makes me think of that. But it does open up kind of like this thread of like when it becomes better, right? Will people start using, I'm sure some people even use ChatGPT for like this, right? As a way to have a conversation.
I do.
And so like, do you?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. It's also, yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah, when I'm alone, I'm lonely in my house and I'm just like, "Hey, ChatGPT, how was your day?" No. I do talk to ChatGPT and I ask ChatGPT for advice. No,
Yeah.
I know, like well, anyways, I'll tell you about I do ask ChatGPT for advice when it comes to, like, dealing with conflicts or, like, interpersonal conflicts, dealing with how to talk to someone appropriately, for example, or just yeah, I I use it in that fashion.
Yeah. Um, I saw this on TikTok last night. I don't know whether this is true or somebody was like, it was like set up, but apparently they like hacked ChatGPT and turned it into like a Korean boyfriend. Yeah, it was kind of
I don't
weird.
use it. I don't use it for those types of use cases, but
Yeah, but yeah, it was like speaking Korean,
um,
and the, the girl or the woman was like asking him to do stuff. It was actually pretty good. It was like English. It was going between English and Korean. And it was like, oh, okay. And I don't know. Is it going to make us more disconnected? Because once you have that, then you really don't have to
yeah,
interact with it.
I mean that's the whole her premise, right? I think I think it will make people more disconnected once it gets to that level of evolution to where you could rely on it and it's pretty, trustworthy in that aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just another layer of disconnective technology similar to how phones have been, disconnected technology.
Oh yeah.
Similar to how the metaverse or, like headsets will be.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, Zuck was talking about, I think it was this week, most recently, about how he's envisioning people will be able to create their own chat, like their AI avatar or chat companions or whatever. And that's kind of one of the goals. Like if you tie it together, it's like, oh, okay, you'll be able to create not only the personality, but then you'll also be able to generate your new friend, right? Which is,
Yeah.
we'll see. Interesting times. I don't know.
And then once robots, evolve, like there's your friend, there's your companion at
Yeah,
home.
that's right.
We're in the
Yeah.
future. We're about to be in the future.
Very Black Mirror-ish. Yeah.
I did hear also related to ChatGPT that they launched or they made their enhanced like voice capabilities
Oh
like
yeah.
live, although I haven't actually tried it out or seen it on my
Available?
device. So
Is it available?
that's what I saw. I haven't had time to check out my app though, so I'll have to
Because I
see.
canceled my sub, so I didn't know if it was sub only.
I, I'm not sure, but yeah, I'll try to give that a try if it is available and come back with my experience. I have been using ChatGPT a lot lately because I've been working on some mobile app development stuff and
Mhm.
working on backend database things, and I've been relying on ChatGPT to help me with my queries. And what I
Mhm.
found so far is that similar to how ChatGPT it's pretty good. Like Dolly is pretty good at generating an image or a logo. But once you try to riff and like make edits and updates, then it gets messy and then like
Yeah.
you see get a bit confused
Yeah.
and then it just becomes a bad experience. I found that very similar with like now that I'm working with it with code. Like the first question I ask, it spits out something that's pretty useful. Like I'm like, oh, that's awesome. But then when I give it ChatGPT feedback, like, no, this didn't work or that didn't work, it ends up just creating a tangle of
Yeah.
weird stuff that's just not optimal.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, there's just like, once they solve like the kind of like the statefulness of it, so where it actually maintains like full, like your, like a set context, if that makes sense, right? It's
Mhm,
because the way, it's just the way LLMs are, right? It's because it's just like generating
mhm,
based off of what it knows, but it's still like it's predictive, right? And so I
yeah,
think that needs to get better, because I think that's when it'll take off, is when you have this idea of like, if I generate a character, right, Tony the Lion, and Tony the Lion, I'll be able to bring him in wherever, versus, he might be red, a red Tony the Lion, versus now he's a purple Tony the Lion, or
yeah,
now he's Tony the Lion with 5 legs instead of 4. It's just like this idea of statefulness doesn't really
yeah,
exist yet. I've seen some companies are solving it, so, but I think that'll be the next evolution, is when it gets to that point where you can start to save characters or start to save these things and come back to them and reference them and build off of that. So I think that's what's missing right now, versus like, it just feels like you're always starting over from scratch, even though if it's an existing
yeah, yeah,
conversation or working or, project or whatever, it's just not quite there yet.
yeah. All right. Well, that's all we had today. Olympics, earnings, and then pretty interesting AI story. I'm gonna have to watch this friend commercial after this recording.
Interesting.
I'm interested in
So
it.
weird.
It's weird. I'm looking at the thumbnail for the video and I just see some woman hunched over in the
Yeah.
middle of the forest.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, well, okay.
Yeah. Watch the whole video. Like
Very,
the ending's kind of it's very her-ish.
it's like giving me hippie slash Oasis vibes here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
It actually made me feel a little bit depressed watching the
Yeah.
video. Yeah. Even the
Right.
way they filmed it, it wasn't filmed in a way where you came across optimistic. It was almost like depressing watching it. Or really, like, if you're, how you watch, there's some movies where you watch it, it just like gives you the very kind of like a psychotic or very kind of like downbeat like vibe to make to get you into the movie. That's kind of what this commercial felt like, honestly. It didn't feel optimistic.
Okay.
But anyway, let me know what you think.
I'll let
I
you know
don't
my
know.
reaction. And then the other thing that's probably gonna happen next week is people are predicting that Kamala is gonna announce her VP running mate. So
Oh yes, VP. Man, I already have an idea of who I hope she chooses, but we'll see.
who do you hope she chooses?
Pete.
Who? Oh,
Buttigieg, Pete Buttigieg. I
Buttigieg?
always mispronounce. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, it's just like he's all I see on TikTok at this point, right? He's typically the only Democrat who actually goes on Fox News and just kind of like blows it out of the water every time.
He's amazing. I
Yeah.
think the only thing that it's a reality, but it's also like shouldn't be the case is just like how with people are saying that for Shapiro, people are not ready for a Jewish vice
Yeah.
president.
Yeah.
People are saying with Pete, like the US is not ready for a gay vice president. And
Yeah.
both of those things unfortunately are true because when we think about this, we think about the entire nation and like a good part of the nation is just like racist or
Yeah.
homophobic or anti-Semitic, right? Or no, Semitic. And it's just sad. But I'm with you. I like Pete a lot. And if he can get there and win, that'd be great. My prediction though is actually Mark Kelly. And the reason I predict that Mark Kelly would be a choice is because he's more moderate and he
Uh-huh.
balances the progressiveness out a bit, which it opens up the door for more voters to actually vote for the Democratic ticket. The only thing about Mark Kelly for me is that he doesn't have a ton of experience as a politician,
Yeah.
but he's married to someone who does. So I don't know.
Got it.
That
Yeah.
those are all my thoughts, and kind of a controversial, touchy thing to talk about, but it's just disheartening reality.
Yeah, I kind of think about like whoever's VP now will probably be the next president if Kamala is able to go through the entire 8 years, right? Whoever's VP would definitely take. I mean, that's just how it goes, right? After any 2-term president, the VP typically is the next up and running for president, unless they've become super old. So that's why I thought Pete would make a good choice, just because if you assume 8 years term, right, he would have matured, our country might have hopefully progressed a little bit more after a decade, and then he'd be able to take over as president. But again, you know, social media perception of everything. So who knows?
No, I mean that's a really good answer. I think in my world, like, and I'm showing my politics, but in my world, I think that's the best outcome for me, in my opinion. And so, politics in general are just so.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, that's why we're not in it. That's why we don't like to talk about it.
Yeah, that's why it's just like,
so like subjective and.
Yeah, there's a lot of feeling behind politics nowadays, right? Well, I guess, I mean, that's why it's called politics, right? It's very emotional for many people.
All right, so
we'll find out next week.
Sure, we're gonna have another exciting week with all the things we just recapped, and looking forward to it. Another one.
Yeah.
All right. Please follow us, subscribe, and let us know what you like. And we'll talk.
Yeah, definitely let us know, because we're our 25th episode. I think it's about time we do a little bit more iteration to see what's working, what's not. So let us know.
All right. See you, Tony.
Later.